All right, we are going to make 4 drum beats. Very, very simple, building towards not so simple, but pretty straightforward still. Okay, so we already kind of talked about how kick, snare, hi-hat are our most important drum components, most common. Kick tends to live on or around beats 1 and 3 of a 4-beat measure. Snare drum on 2 and 4. Hi-hats can be quarters, eighths, sixteenths, 30 seconds, combinations thereof. We're going to start super basic. So I'm going to have this here for you and for me just to kind of do a little cheat sheet. So we're going to start up Pro Tools. If you don't have the dashboard, come up to File and Create New. Remember, as long as you see Pro Tools in the upper left-hand corner, it is active. We're going to call this not 4 chords. Did I say 4 chords or 4 drum beats? 4 drum beats. Dash your last name, please. Make sure that the destination is the desktop. Hit create. This came up to my mix window. I want to see my edit window. So I go to window and edit. Currently my tempo is 120. So the very first thing we're going to do is change our tempo. So we can do that by coming over to where it says 120 here. This is called the MIDI controls. There's other things that happen here, like having a 2-measure count off, turning on and off your click. We don't have one, so we're just going to kind of stick to what we're doing at the moment. So if I highlight this 120 just by clicking on it, I'm going to put in 90 and hit return. And now my tempo is 90 BPM. Let's make a track. So I'm going to go track and new. Also, the quick key for that is Command-Shift-N. I'm going to make a stereo instrument track. And I'm going to take advantage of the fact that I know we're just going to use this one track, and I'm going to call it drums. In the first insert, I'm going to go ahead, multi-channel, navigate over to instrument. Instead of going to expand, we are going to go to battery 4, which is a drum, kind of drum only sample playback instrument. A little bit about battery, very little bit about it. These cells represent different notes on the piano. So for example, this first cell, A1, is triggered by C1 on the keyboard. We haven't yet together gone over the keys of the piano, but if you know them, fantastic. You don't necessarily need them for this. I'll walk you through it. If I click on cell A5, that is triggered by E1. B1 is triggered by C2, like that, okay? Under kits, all of these listed here are various drum kits that we have. There's a lot of them. Let's just randomly scroll. Boom. Clocking kit. If I double click on clocking kit, whoa, hello. That's probably going to be pretty loud in your headphones. The CO2 kit, double click. This doesn't even have any drums. One more. Elevators kit. I don't like these because they're not showing you how much. These are all fairly small kits. All right, doesn't matter. Let's see what this one sounds like. Okay, fewer cells, but still. Okay, let's all choose, very at the top, the 2 funk kit. Okay, this one has more. So we have a kick drum on C1. We're going to use that. Snare drum that's triggered by D1. We're going to use that. And a closed hi-hat that is triggered by G-sharp 1. Okay, so all these drums are in the first octave. We can close battery for now. We have the sounds that we want. We're going to head over to Window and MIDI Editor, which is Control Control =. And let's talk about the notes of the piano only to say that these numbers, 4, 3, 2, and 1, are all C. So that kick drum, that very first A1 cell, is triggered by C1. There's another kick drum on C2, but we're going to use this one. D1, the snare drum that I identified earlier, and that closed hi-hat, G#1. Okay, so a couple ways that we can input. We're going to input our own notes here. You can click on the pencil, and then simply by clicking in a grid square, you'll get a note. Let's talk about the grid for a moment. If you see 1/1, 1/2, 1/3, 1/4, that represents the quarter notes of each measure. So it depends what you're zoomed into. Zoom controls, quick keys, Command and the closed bracket zooms you in. Command and the open bracket zooms you out. So I'm going to show you right now, or the demonstration is going to be zoomed at the level where you can see those quarter note fractions, and then 4 squares per quarter note, which means that our grid is set to 16ths. You can see over here, I can turn the grid on and off. Doesn't help us to have it off. I can also click on the note and change it from 16ths to 8ths to quarters, etc. As I mentioned in that earlier video, 90% of the time I'm working in 16ths unless I want to change it. And we are going to change it for one demo today. All right, so if this is beat 1, beat 2, beat 3, beat 4, we're going to put a kick drum on beat 1 and beat 3. All right, so if I kind of go up that column, remember that we count 16th notes as 1, and I'll do it here, 1, E and a, 2, E and a, 3, E and a, 4. All right, so I don't want those there. I just want kick drum on beats 1 and 3. And by the way, I simply came over here, even with the pencil tool, when I hover over the note, it turns into this finger. I can double click on it and get rid of that note. All right, so kick on 1 and 3, snare on D, so C, D, white note, beats 2 and 4. Hi-hat on G#, we are going to put in quarter notes, which means we're going to put 4 of them on beat 1, beat 2, beat 3, beat 4. Sounds like this. Very, very simple. We're going to keep going, and we're going to just do this by drawing. We're going to keep our kick drum simple, kick and snare simple, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to do eighth notes, which means we're going to skip every other one. So we have twice as many as when we were playing quarter notes. Sounds like this. Okay, listen to the difference. All right, having those extra hi-hats really kind of moves the beat forward a little bit with energy. Same pattern on the kick and snare. Keep it super, super simple. This time, we're going to draw in 16th notes. I'm going to show you a little trick. If you know that that's what you want to do and you want to fill all of these grid values, grid squares, if you click and hold on the pencil tool and go to the line tool, what it does is it draws in the value of your grid. Very, very simple. And that sounds like, okay? So 1, 2, 3 very simple beats. Kick on 1 and 3. Kick on 1 and 3, snare on 2 and 4, quarter notes, eighth notes, 16th notes. Just a reminder to myself, what are we doing with this next one? Okay, so we've already done 1, 2, 3. 16th notes. Got it. Okay, so I'll walk you through this. Another trick. Let's talk about the edit tools. Actually, let's just talk about this edit tool. If I kind of select my grabber tool, the hand, and I click and drag over all my hi-hats, I want a 16th note hi-hat pattern, and I'm just going to copy it. So what I'm going to do is hold down Option, and then I'm going to click on one of these, and I'm going to start dragging, and I have copied all 16 of those hi-hats. You might say, hey, Kaufman, how do you know that that was 16? Because each quarter note has 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 16. Don't ask me any more math. All right, now our snare drums are still on beats 2 and 4. Our first kick drum is on beat 1. Our second kick drum is 2, E, and is on the of beat 2. And then 3, E, so the first one's on E, and. Okay? 1, E, and 2, E, and 3, E, and that's it. Now, you can't see it here, but if I zoom in, you can see that there's a whole lot more hi-hats here. Those are 64th notes. It is taking up 2 16th note grid values. But how do I draw in 64th notes? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to highlight these 2 16ths and delete them. Hit delete on your keyboard. What I'm going to do now is come over to the grid. This is one of those 10% of the time that I change my grid value. I'm going to change it to 64ths. This is another reason why I said I usually don't work in this level, because it is too small. So I need to zoom in, Command in the closed bracket, so that I can see how many squares I'm dealing with. I could just either double click with the grabber tool. I could pick up my pencil, or I can click and hold on the pencil, go to the line tool, and fill in the last 2 16th notes. And that is going to sound like this. Okay? Now, a couple other things while we're here. We have made 4 drum beats. I'm going to review them. But first, let's talk about our edit tools here. The grabber tool allows you to click and select a clip. This is called a clip. We're going to end up making it into 4 clips. This is a clip. The grabber tool allows you simply with one click to select the whole thing. The selector tool allows you to kind of go in between and place your cursor or select a section that you want to edit. It also allows you to establish your playback point. Where is playback going to start? And by the way, I'm hitting my space bar. I'm not coming up here and hitting play, although you could do that. If I want to go back to the beginning, I can hit return. And these are very important. Third one is called the trim tool, and that really only works by coming to an end, one end or the other, and kind of trimming the thing down, or essentially to the left of the middle point or the right of the middle point. Very, very important. I want you to try and learn how to do this right away. If you click in the frame right here, you get what's called the Smart tool, which is all 3 of those tools together. And the way that that works is if you don't have a clip selected, watch how the tool changes. So there's a middle point. Let's call it an imaginary equator across this clip. If I go above the equator, I have the Selector Tool. If I go below the equator, it turns into the Grabber Tool. And if I come over to an end, either the right side or the left, it becomes the Trim Tool. All of this editing is non-destructive. If I make a mistake, let's make a mistake with the Trim Tool. Whoa, what happened? Oh, I'm bummed. Just come back over to the Trim Tool and open it back up. It is still there. So what I want to do now is using the Selector Tool. Oh, let's talk about the edit modes for a second. Slip and grid. That's it. Grid. As I am kind of going around placing my cursor with the Selector Tool, I can only place it on these grid lines, which are set to 16ths up here. I cannot get in between them. I have a couple choices. I could change my grid value to 30 seconds and get to the middle, or I go into slip mode and I can go anywhere, even more fine or precise than 30 seconds for 64ths. Most of the time when you're editing and making MIDI-based music, you're going to be in grid mode because you want to know that when I place my cursor here, I am on beat 2. Not in between, not close, right on it. It tells you right here that my cursor starting point is at beat 2 of measure 1, and my selection, the end, because I don't have a selection, is there. The selection is not a length. If I did something, if I did this, I can see that my selection starts at beat 1 of measure 1, it ends at beat 1 of measure 2, and the length is exactly 1 measure long. All right, so what I want to do in grid mode is place my cursor at beat 1 of measure 2, and I'm going to go to Edit, Separate Clip at the selection, otherwise known as Command E. I will probably always just say Command E at this point. So now I have 1 measure and the rest of my drum beats, which is 3 measures. I'm going to come over to measure 3, beat 1, Command E, and I'm going to come to measure 4, beat 1. So now I have 4 separate measures. Hopefully you see this little loop icon on the playback button. Options, loop, playback. We want that so we can listen to this in a loop. Okay, this is super basic, boring to be honest, but it demonstrates what I wanted it to demonstrate, which is kick on 1 and 3, snare on 2 and 4, hi-hats on quarter notes. Listen to the 8th notes. Listen to the 16th notes. Listen to the slightly more interesting version. Okay, so what I want you to do for this assignment with the Grabber tool, whether you're using the Smart tool or simply using the Grabber, select the first clip, hold Shift, select the second clip. So all 4 of these play back. And we are going to bounce it, File, Bounce Mix. Please make sure that your file type is MP3, that your file format is interleaved, sample rate 48, but it could be 44, I don't really care. I should not say 32, that would be weird. And that it's going to the Bounce Files folder. In offline mode, hit Bounce. Hit OK. So now your MP3 of this should be sitting on your desktop inside of the Bounce Files folder. Please upload that to Canvas. That is the assignment for this